This is The Drive with Dale Lally and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lally. He is the Matt Williamson. It is a Friday here in Pittsburgh, and that means it is a football Friday. That Week 8 is now started here. We saw that last night with the Rams beating the Minnesota Vikings 30-20, and all the Steeler fans who were thinking the Steelers are going to get Cooper Kupp can forget about that now.
I think he's off the market.
Because the Rams are now back in it.
Yep, they absolutely are. And so Nate Tice that I follow, Mike Tice's son, he posted something today, and he said, going back to last year, the snaps that the Rams have Stafford, Kupp, Nakua, and Williams, which there aren't a lot because those guys get hurt a lot, they are the best offense in the league, basically, and it's by a wide margin. You know, like, they're a dangerous team, and the O-line's coming together a little bit. Stafford looks great. We scoffed yesterday at the quarterback rankings, and they had him 15th or whatever. I was like, no, I don't want to play against him. Defense needs work, but if I'm the Rams, I'm not selling things off right now.
No, that's not going to happen. So you can forget about Cooper Kupp. That's not happening. He will stay a Ram. You can bet on that. And I didn't think he was going to be a Steeler.
I didn't either. Right. No. I thought the Bucs were a real logical landing spot. I didn't even know if he was definitely going to get moved. But if they would have lost, I would have strongly considered if I'm the Rams, making moves.
Yeah, at that point they would have been completely – now they, that if you look at it, they beat the Raiders last week. All right. Mm-hmm. But beating the Vikings last night is a much bigger deal for the Rams.
Absolutely. And I took a lot away from that game. I thought it was a really well-played game. Everyone's talking about the face mask at the end. It's like they missed a bad call. I mean, clearly.
Well, here's the thing, Matt. Not only is it a face mask, it's a face mask on a quarterback. So anytime we've seen guys brush a quarterback's helmet.
Oh, absolutely.
And get called for roughing the passer. And it happens every week in the league, and you miss that?
It's inexcusable, and I don't understand. And it's on a scoring play.
Yeah.
So why wasn't it reviewable?
Well, it's not. There's nothing reviewable there because you can't review the penalty or lack thereof.
Okay. I mean, that should be reviewable to me, but I still think they lose either way. To be honest,
I do too. That's not why the Vikings lost that game.
But it's an unbelievably bad call.
It's just an awful look with the official standing there looking right at it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you miss that?
And as many things as they now can review or call down to them and say, hey, you missed it, that would have been easy. It's taken 4 seconds.
As Darnold's going to the ground, he's reaching and saying, well, face mask, face mask.
His whole head went around, But anyway, losing Darisaw is a big, big deal for them.
Huge.
And I think Verse is a really good player. I don't know how long Darisaw is out, but now you're on a 2-game losing streak, and maybe you kind of turn into the almost contender most of us thought the Vikings were,
Yeah, the discussion that we had yesterday about Coach of the Year stuff, and you brought up Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wearing off a little bit, right?
Maybe not so much if they fall back to the pack now.
I picked the Vikings to win, and there was 2 things I overlooked that I need to pay more attention to. Is I think O'Connell's got kind of a big brother, little brother thing with his former employer, McVay. McVay knows him better than vice versa, and the Rams did a really, really good job with the exotic blitz packages and stuff that, of course, you're going to see. But one of the new trends, this was like a Niner thing last year, every team that plays the Lions loses the next week. They get beat up, and it's a short week on the road. Like, I should have thought of that, That's something to pay attention to.
It might be something we need to take a look at with the Steelers at some point as well.
Yeah, I wonder if Baltimore too. A couple of these really physical teams.
Yeah,
what do the teams do after that?
Because seemingly every week after a team plays the Steelers, they've got like 5 guys on the injury report that were in-game injuries or things that weren't even reported in-game, and all of a sudden they're just beat up.
Banged up. But I guess the Rams are back. They're enough that they can get to be one of the 7. They could maybe win that division. I don't love the back 7 of their defense, but the offense is going to have to win shootouts. Minnesota's good, not great. If they lose Darisaw, I don't like the interior of their line. Then you're down to like 1 really good lineman, but Hawkinson's coming back at some point. Probably sooner than later.
Probably, at this point, much more of a wild card team. Like Detroit's very happy right now.
Yes. I didn't realize this, but if the Bears win, the Vikings are in last place in their division. Like before you know it, you're 5-0. Now you're in last place in your division.
Yeah. Well, we saw that last year with the AFC North.
Yeah, I would say it's we're used to dealing with around here, right? One loss affects you an awful lot.
So the HBO stuff, the behind the scenes stuff that they're going to start shooting here.
Oh, for AFC North stuff coming up.
Yeah, the AFC North show, stuff, Hard Knocks coming up. Maybe they should have waited on that. Maybe they should have waited to see like the first 4 weeks of the season or something like that.
Before announcing it or
before saying,
gone
hey,
to the other North.
Maybe they would have picked the AFC or the NFC North.
I'm sure they would. It's the best and most compelling division right now. The first overall picks in that division. A lot of good storylines. But AFC North's disappointing, I guess, with the Ohio teams. I mean, they don't look like contenders, but maybe since he gets back into things.
Yeah. Cleveland, not so much.
I don't think.
No.
I don't think.
So if not Cooper Kupp, there's still some other guys that we have talked about out there that they're not going to be the sexy names necessarily that Steeler fans are going to get all excited about, but they're also not going to cost you a high draft or even a day 2 draft.
Yeah, I'm saying it's going to be a day 3 guy.
Yeah.
In some way,
and one of them's
shape, or
playing
form.
this weekend. The Steelers are going to see another one this weekend. It's Darius Slayton.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, he'd be a welcome addition at a reasonable cost, which I don't think is much. You throw out Christian Kirk quite a bit. I'm certainly interested in that. Mike Williams for nothing.
That doesn't get me real excited.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's for nothing.
Yeah.
I don't think he changes the dynamic enough.
I'd much rather give up a 5 or a 6 and get a
Slayton
Kirk or
somebody.
Slayton or Jacoby Myers.
Pay
or
a little bit more and get that guy.
Get a true upgrade as opposed to just throwing another body into the room.
Hoping he stays healthy and all that.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree with you that.
But
are there any names we're not thinking of that we haven't brought up?
Well, if we're not thinking of them, we haven't.
Like Lockett, maybe Lockett, but they're starting to win.
Not with Metcalf,
hurt.
Not with Metcalf hurt. That's the thing. Things change so quickly in the NFL that it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, if Seattle would have dropped a couple games, maybe, but now they got some momentum.
They're winning the division.
Yeah.
The NFC West being bad hasn't helped some of these situations.
No, you're right about that. So, I don't know. They'll kick tires. And when's the deadline again?
November 5th.
Okay.
I believe.
So there's a lot of time. Yeah. And, who knows, maybe
a lot of time, but there's 2 more games.
Two more
weeks.
games. Right. But, I mean, maybe a team that's thinking they're a contender has a quarterback injury and says, maybe we're a seller now. You know?
And even a team like Denver right now is in it. Like everybody was talking about Cortland Sutton. Well, Denver's in it.
Mm-hmm. Saints.
They're not trading Olave.
I don't think you're going to move Olave. And I'd give up a lot for him, but he's one of the pieces I wouldn't move from them.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just the situation you're in right now. And so there are people who are looking at this and saying, well, Omar Khan, I don't want to hear this con artist stuff anymore. Mm-hmm. Again, I think he's done an admirable job rebuilding this roster quickly. Yeah. Okay, he didn't get a receiver. It's not the end of the world.
8 out of 10 moves have been good, basically.
You're 5-2 with the guys that you got.
Mm-hmm. And
your backup quarterback playing a whole bunch.
Right. I mean, not every roster move hits either. I think a high percentage of his picks and additions, Elliott, guys like that, have definitely been positives.
All right.
You're like a stockbroker. You're not going to get everything right.
Who have they picked up in this offseason as a major acquisition that hasn't been what they wanted them to be?
Yeah. I mean, really, since he's taken over, the only one that you could – Broderick Jones is not looking as promising as he did at one point.
But he's still, a 22-year-old player.
Right, with a lot of ability, and he's playing a ton right now, and his book isn't written. And, folks, not every first-round pick hits either, And he's also dealing with a lot of injuries amongst his draftees.
Well, look at the team that the Steelers are going to play this week. Through the first couple of seasons, Andrew Thomas was just kind of
Oh, yeah. His first year was pretty bad.
The first year was really bad.
It was really bad, yeah 100%. I mean, that's definitely a position where, Dan Moore's gotten better.
Yeah.
I mean,
you are allowed to get better.
And they often do with all the linemen, especially guys that are
high pedigree guys.
High pedigree with a lot of ability but not a lot of technique.
The athleticism, to me, is what's, differentiates with that. Like Alex Leatherwood, when he got drafted in the first round, I'm like, that's a mistake.
He just doesn't have the
because he doesn't have the athleticism.
Yeah.
Some of these other really big, hulking SEC offensive tackles, I'm like, that's not
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I mean, the roof isn't high enough.
Yeah.
The ceiling's not high enough.
But with Broderick Jones, I'm not concerned about that part of the game. He's got the athleticism to play the position. He just needs to get the mental part of the game down.
And the technique of it all, and it's going to get better.
Yeah.
And he's going to play a lot.
Yeah, right. And so, that's the expectation. I would think that he would get better. And Pat Meyer's done a great job with everybody else. So
absolutely has. Yeah, I think he's in good hands. It's on
I
him.
do too.
It's on him. But no, they might still get a receiver, or this offseason they might sign T. Higgins, or who knows.
But I've seen some people. Why weren't the Steelers interested in DeAndre Hopkins? Well, maybe, just maybe, they don't think he can play anymore.
Mm-hmm. He's a tough eval. He was injured early in the season. He doesn't ever really run well. I mean, he's a high-profile guy, and he wasn't free. I mean, he was a decent. He got a little more than I thought they would for him.
There's one other guy out there that he just signed in the offseason, and again, they're not throwing the ball well, and they've already traded DeAndre Hopkins. Would you be interested in Tyler Boyd at this point?
I thought you were going to say Ridley. I'd say Ridley's expensive.
I don't want anything to do with Ridley.
He seems like he's had some issues too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that Boyd moves the needle for me much. He's okay. He's kind of a monotone slot guy, though.
The problem is, though, by this point, we thought that Roman Wilson would have taken control of the slot job, and that's not happened.
It's okay. I mean, maybe a seventh.
Yeah.
I like the other names better.
I do too, but I just threw that one out there. I'm like, well, why not? If that's what's available, he does make your room better. They did have some interest in him in the offseason.
I mean, not only did they just trade Hopkins, but they swapped linebackers to pick up a fourth too. Like they're in
seller's mode.
Oh, they absolutely are. Maybe.
I mean, I think he makes you a better.
I mean, he would play on game day.
He'd make you a better team.
He would. I'd have to watch him more, but I wasn't interested in him in the offseason, but I was more big game hunting at the time.
I know, last week with Mason Rudolph at quarterback against the Bills, Tyler Boyd was I think he had 4 or 5 catches in that game.
Did he? I'd have to look at it more, I guess.
But. And then they just haven't thrown the ball well enough this year to judge any of the receivers.
I know, it's really tough. I mean, Levis has been a problem. Their protection's been a problem. Like I said, Hopkins was a tough eval. I do like Boyd's style of play.
I think he would add some physicality to what they do.
Oh, yeah. He'll slam into linebackers and throw his weight around a little bit.
Yeah, so just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to be one of these, household name wide receivers that everybody's going to go, ooh.
Yeah, I think those.
But I don't know that it needs to be. George Pickens is a number one.
Yeah. I mean, obviously my concern is when he gets hurt or if he gets hurt.
Yeah.
And Wilson's book isn't written yet either. I mean, he may see the field quite a bit in the second half of the season.
There's no doubt. I think coming out of this bye week,
will do him real good.
Yeah.
Right.
So, at this point, if they don't do anything, I'm fine. Again, you're 5-2 with what you got.
I don't want to be light on draft picks.
No, nor do I.
Yeah.
Especially moving forward. I think next year's draft is loaded.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of positions that you could upgrade at. You might need to go find a new running back. You might, they
have a lot of their own UFAs coming up, and
great defensive tackle draft, great cornerback draft.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely some positions there that you could upgrade and or add a young body at that make you better. You don't want to be the Browns and have no young guys on your roster who are up and coming.
And they've drafted well. I mean, keep that pipeline going.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have Russell Wilson in a draft pick in the quarterback room, or who knows?
Right. So
I would not want to be light on draft picks.
No, nor would I. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lally. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lally. He is the Matt Williamson, and we're joined on the Justin Miller Hotline by Steelers sideline reporter Missy Matthews. How you doing, Missy?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you? Big Pitt win last night.
I love it.
That's two primetime games at the Acrisure Stadium, 30-plus points, and hopefully a repeat on Monday.
Yeah, maybe some interception. I hope Pitt saves some interception returns for touchdowns. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I know. If they could get Minkah Fitzpatrick one, that would be great.
That would be pretty good, yeah. Let's talk about Minkah real quick because I continue to see people. I'm so disappointed with Minkah Fitzpatrick's start. He doesn't have any turnovers. Blah blah blah. Like what he does goes beyond the turnovers, and I just don't know that people understand that.
Yeah, I think it's not even what he just himself personally does on and off the football field. It's what he does for the other people around him. Beanie Bishop will tell you that he has probably gotten some tough love, also some encouragement from Minkah Fitzpatrick in games and practices. Minkah is one of those guys that literally knows where everybody is supposed to be on every single play, every single call. I understand Patrick Queen is the one with the green dot. He's relaying the information, but make no mistake, Minkah is like having a coach out there. I think a lot of people, if you go back to Will Gay used to say that in terms of just how in tune he was with that defense. I think that's exactly what Minkah is. And just the way he is able to see a field and anticipate things. I understand why people, they want the splash plays and the stats that you can physically see on a game book, but Minkah means a lot to that defense. Just go back to last year when he wasn't there. And what happened there.
Yeah, it's a great point about missing him when he leaves. You see his importance when he's not there. You mentioned we got a primetime game again. Do you have any theories or insights of why these Tomlin coach teams are so good on Monday nights and in primetime in general?
I don't know. I mean, it is really crazy because clearly there's other teams that have the lore of, like the Pittsburgh Steelers do, that get these primetime games. Like, take Daniel Jones, for example. I'm laughing, but it is kind of funny when you look at his record. I mean, 1-14 on primetime.
Yeah, the Giants do wish someone would take Daniel Jones.
Right. Like 0-7 on Monday night. Could you imagine if there were 8 Monday night football games and Ben Roethlisberger didn't win any of them?
Right.
You couldn't fathom it. I don't even think he probably has 8 losses on Monday Night Football, and God knows how many games Ben has played, on Monday night. I just think, I don't know if it is the way that Coach Tomlin is so into, hey, everybody's watching us. It is the excitement. I mean, you guys felt it on Sunday, just the home crowd and how insane they were when the Jets came to town. I think easy to hate Aaron Rodgers and, not want to see him do well, but just the genuine excitement for what the Steelers were doing. And I think guys do really feed off of that.
And I hear what you're saying, and I'm not arguing with you, but you said it earlier too. It's like the other 31 teams have similar things though. Like they know that they're the only game in town that everybody's watching.
Right. Yeah. It is really crazy. And I guess obviously we're, biased because we're watching every Steelers game and not necessarily the other, but even I watch Thursday night pretty regularly. Obviously last night I didn't. But there's some games where, I don't know, it's just not exciting. And you're kind of like, I'm going to turn this off and watch something else. Some of them have been brutal, but it must be something that coach kind of either lays a secret Easter egg in meetings or practices or something. And they don't even realize it, and then it works because I don't know how to explain it, Matt.
I just wonder if it's something that, but like you mentioned, maybe they handle pregame meals differently. Maybe they get more sleep during the day. I don't know, but I mean, there's something to it.
100%. And I hope it carries on because if they win on Monday, that's 22 consecutive home game wins on Monday Night Football, which
that's
to
an
me
insane
is
streak. That's like Joe DiMaggio
that's
streak,
insane.
Right?
Yeah, that is crazy.
It goes all the way back to Chuck Noll. Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin have never lost a scheduled Monday night game in Pittsburgh.
Right. That's nuts.
Yes.
There has to be something to it, right?
I've never covered a Monday Night Football loss.
And you've been doing this a while.
I've been doing this for 33 years.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah, there has to be something to it.
Yeah, I don't know what to. Somebody asked me in the comments on our show yesterday, Missy, and I had no idea what the answer is this, but it just seems like they do pretty well when the Steelers have it's alumni weekend and they have all the guys back. They don't typically lose those games.
There's got to be some pride involved.
Absolutely,
yeah, absolutely.
Do you see the team get a little more amped up on the sideline when they see Joe Green out there, or they see Donnie Shell or Mel Blount or guys like that?
I get more amped up in my lazy boy when they're on TV.
Yes. I honestly think, and not that this will shock you, I think Joe Green is really one of those ones where you're like, holy cow. Like,
it's Joe
Mr.
freaking Green.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like.
I was starstruck
there
at
is
Mel
something
Blunt in
about
camp
it.
last year.
Right. But I do feel like Mel's around the team a little bit more.
Yeah.
Obviously with his position, so it's a little different in where he lives. But like when Joe Green's there, like, I don't know, when I saw him on the sideline, I stood up a little bit straighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, I had mentioned this on our game broadcast on Sunday that Keanu Benton was like in awe. Cam Hayward dragged him over to introduce him to Joe Green and was just kind of like, holy crap, had one of those like aha moments. And then we saw him have a fantastic game and add to just, some of the splash plays we saw on defense. So it definitely, I think Joe's clearly one of those guys. But I think, too, Coach Tomlin does such a great job about bringing the alumni, the old timers, whatever you want to call them, into the family where you're just not showing up on a game and you're out on the sidelines for pregame. Like, you're coming to practices, you're walking the building. It's an open invitation to go wherever you want in that building to talk to people. And I do think that there's a trickle-down effect to that. And when you have someone like Cam Hayward, who is just so genuinely appreciative of it and is always vocalizing that appreciation, I think then other players realize just how special that is.
Well, and I think, too, Missy, part of it is what the Steelers do in their meeting rooms and in the hallways upstairs. Mm-hmm. With all the photos of the guys. Like, if you were a great player for the Steelers, you get your photo on the wall.
Yeah. In the meeting rooms, too.
In the meeting rooms,
like,
things
Dermani,
like that. Yeah.
There's Webby,
so,
and I'm a center on this team.
If you're a young guy, that's something you probably aspire to. Like, I want to be that guy 20 years from now. I want people looking at my picture on that wall.
And even if Zach Frazier didn't know who Mike Webster was, I mean, he wasn't even alive, you find out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just the way they pay it on down. I mean, who the great players were at your position if you're a Pittsburgh Steeler.
And you got those Super Bowl trophies when you walk through those
You
doors.
look those in the face too.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember when Marquise Pouncey's picture got put up on the wall and just what that meant to him to see himself up there. And then you have to imagine, like you said, Zach Frazier now sees that. And I do think there is something about that, like, forever family. And again, this goes back to all 32 teams probably say the same thing, but I think it's different because there's a lot of one helmet guys. There's a lot of guys that even if this wasn't their first team or they made an impact, there was something that, ties it to them. Think about how many times there's players who were not drafted by the Steelers but want to retire a Steeler. Even if they weren't here for a majority of their career, I just think there's something about it. And I do think that, there are always those little lessons like, what was it with John LeGlue? There was Coach Tomlin just telling different people about their predecessors and bringing up Kelvin Beachum and, how he kind of turned into this guy who has a long career and did many different things. And there's always those little, I think, antidotes that also help loop things together that gives guys more of like a visualization of what can happen.
So, Missy, the Steelers have outscored their opponents in the second half by 68 points. I mean, that's a massive differential. And
yes,
you're close to the team on game day. Do you think it's their physicality taking over late in the game? Do you think it's halftime adjustments from the coaches? Is it guys like Cam Hayward and Russell Wilson? Don't get your head down when things go bad. We'll get this thing in the end. Do you have any theories on that one either?
Well, I do think the halftime adjustments is definitely something that you're seeing specifically on the defensive side. And I also think part of it's because they have to. It's just been the way that I feel like the past few years, it feels like they're always playing from behind or they're playing close and it's always coming down. But there is something about them able to get things going in the second half. And of course, we talk every week, I feel like the slow starts, that hopefully that's something that they can get away from and maybe build a lead and play differently.
Yeah, that's. The last 2 weeks we've seen a few more points scored in the first half, including a season high 13 in the first half last week against the Jets. This Giants team is going to present some different problems, though. I mean, I just look at them and they've been kind of slow starting this year. They got 19 first quarter points and then 18 in the fourth quarter. They don't score a lot at the beginning and the end of games, but everything in the middle, 39 points in the second quarter. So this is not a team that I expect to come out and punch the Steelers necessarily in the mouth like some other teams have done in recent weeks, or have something that's just they haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Dale.
No, I
was going to say, it is different, like you said, but I also think about all the defensive players talking this week about how Coach Tomlin preached, hey, the Jets can score in the fourth quarter. That's where they do a lot of damage. So that was something that was on their mind in terms of, having to lock things down and whatnot. And I'm sure whatever the message is, whatever, the numbers are showing in terms of the Giants and what they can do, it'll be the same thing. But it has felt like most teams have played the same way in terms of when they score or don't score up to this point. And I do think, yes, they are a 2-5 team, 10 points total in the past 2 games that they've been able to put up. There's still, like you said, different problems, Dexter Lawrence, just Malik Neighbors on both sides of the ball that the Steelers have to deal with. I think it's almost to the point where they're not just trying to figure out how do we function as an offense or how are we communicating and being this great defense. It's now okay, what are they going to do and how do we prohibit that from happening while still taking a step forward for ourselves?
So Najee Harris has been a ball carrier possessed these last 2 weeks. Have you seen anything different from him on game day or on the sidelines or anything in general?
He definitely has a pep to his step. I don't know if it's, I think he's been very vocal, whether it was last year, the year before, or this year, of how he feels where things are. It almost felt like last year he was holding them in, at least publicly. Almost like, I'm not going to rock the boat, but I'm not happy. And I think there's some issues. Whereas this year, I think he kind of laid it out like, this is my 4th year here, and this is the most efficient I feel like we've ever been on offense. I mean, he started with Ben Roethlisberger. So I do think that there is something to that. And it's almost like he's taking the reins and pride in being that angry guy who runs the ball so well. And, I hope he gets 3 straight games with over 100 yards. And it's weird because when he was a captain, I felt like it wasn't even as effective as it is now in terms of just guys feeding off of him and his leadership. But I'm glad it's happening now, and I hope that it continues to help them, especially as the offense as a whole. Yeah,
you can't see somebody run that hard and put that much effort into it and not kind of be uplifted yourself. And it's like, if he's going to run that hard, I got to get my block. I can't miss it because I just think that carries over to everything that they do. Missy, we'll let you go. We appreciate your time. Get back to spending some time off with your kids, and we'll see you on Monday.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend. Yeah, see you Monday night.
All right, sounds good. That was Missy Matthews, Steelers sideline reporter. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lally. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lally. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, I've had a conundrum all week long.
All right.
About how this Giants rush defense could be so bad.
Yeah.
The numbers
and tape don't always add up on it, and they have good players,
Yeah.
Right.
And so some of it is quarterback runs have hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
You remember a few weeks ago they had the Burrow run down the sideline.
Yeah, right.
A game they were right in that game.
You wouldn't expect a 40 or whatever yard run from Joe Burrow either,
No. So I think that's some of it. But also, I just think that if you can get to the second level with them, they don't tackle real well.
No, I bring it up a lot this week that they are the youngest defense, and I think there's some communication errors there. There's some welcome to the NFL moments and they allow a lot of big runs. I mean, they have more 30-yard. I think they've allowed 9 30-yard runs where the next team has 5. So once you get free, it can be off to the races. And Barkley was a perfect example of that. Now, the Steelers don't have a Barkley-like home run threat,
No.
But I think if you get past the first line, I mean, Lawrence can get tackles for losses all day long. But if you can get past that first line, that's where they get soft,
So they've given up 6.17 yards per carry to opposing quarterbacks.
Okay.
And that's with they played Sam Darnold in the opener. 3 carries for 3 yards.
Yeah.
Then it was Washington the next week.
Well,
all right.
Yeah, that adds up. Right.
10 for 44. So they didn't do a bad job on James Daniels.
I figured he would win
fair.
for 80 or something against them.
Against the Browns, it was 6 for 27, and Deshaun Watson doesn't want to run.
No, he doesn't run anything like he used to.
The Cowboys had 2 carries for -1 yards against them.
Say Dak doesn't run at all.
No. But then the Seahawks, 4 for 72.
I was sitting there thinking, did Geno get him once or twice too, like Burrow? Okay.
4 for 72 against them. The Bengals, 4 for 55, and then last week against Jalen Hurts, it was 7 for 22.
But they've only faced 2 running quarterbacks.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like,
and it wasn't that bad against
Geno
those
Smith's
guys.
not a big runner.
No.
Joe Burrow's not a big runner. He can.
Wilson's on the same tier as those guys.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
You know, again,
It's not Fields.
The people who are acting like Russell Wilson is a statue back there.
I think they should know better by now.
He's less statuesque than Dak Prescott.
Absolutely.
He's less so than Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
You know, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Russell Wilson run a little bit this week.
Would you bring Fields in at all?
I that's kind of tipping your hand. That's the only problem.
It's different.
With that.
That's not. That's. I'm sure. Well, I remember the Burrow run, but I'm sure the Geno runs were man coverage on 3rd and 8.
Yeah.
You know, I mean that kind of
and
stuff.
Everybody's got their back to it.
Yeah.
Against running backs this year, against the Vikings, it was 23 for 108.
Okay.
Against the Commanders, it was 25 for 171.
Ooh.
Browns had 12 for 42. Cowboys 18 for 73. Well, the Browns and the Cowboys,
two of the worst running teams in the league. Right.
The Seahawks only had 7 carries for 30 yards against them, though. I think that might have been a game Walker missed.
I think so. So I was sitting there thinking too. I was like, I don't remember Walker playing.
Yeah, but they won that football game.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants did.
Giants won that game. Yeah.
Bengals running backs had 16 for 66, and then Saquon Barkley last week in the Eagles 38 for 247.
I'm insane. Yeah. Again, I think that's
so
a lot of it.
It's a mixed bag, though.
It's a mixed bag. So I do think their run defense isn't as bad as the numbers.
The numbers look like they're horrible.
They're the worst in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, they're basically, they're at the bottom. So if they could, I'm sure that they're sitting there in their building going, if we could just nip the explosives and even, okay, we're going to give up a 12-yard run here and there, but not a 71. You know, I mean, like not the backbreaker, get behind the defense and we're chasing them types, because that's definitely been a problem for them. And I don't think their secondary is a great tackling unit, and they're really young in the secondary. But like Okariki's a decent player, you know. I mean, it's a little befuddling.
It just doesn't add up because you have to double team Dexter Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't allow your guards to get out to the second level.
Not very often, right?
It's just
and even their edge guys aren't great edge setters. I mean, they're bendy pass rushers, I mean, I think you can have success. I think they're bad against outside zone. Somebody was saying that's maybe there was a conversation I had with Merrill, or somebody was talking about how he doesn't like how they defend outside zone, and I'd have to look at the numbers on that. But Steelers' numbers in running outside zone hasn't been great. I mean, they've been better with the man blocking stuff as a changeup.
Yeah, so it's if the Steelers don't run the ball for 170 yards in this game, I'm not going to be surprised.
No, I'm not going to be surprised either, nor am I going to be on Monday saying, oh, this running game's terrible. They should have gouged them for huge gains over and over. What's that?
Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're saying that Monday, you're
right. Prognosticating. Yes.
Yeah.
No, but it is a good point about why is their run defense bad? Because it is, but it isn't down by down. I don't think they also get a whole lot of stuffs or tackle for losses either.
Yeah, I think everything's kind of falling forward. The other thing, like running backs have caught 34 passes against them in 7 games. That's 5 a game.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So
it's a defense that can be had. I expect the Steelers to move the ball. I also think they'll stick with the run, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if by chance they even get down on the scoreboard, I think they're still going to run and run. I also think it's a very deep unit. I bet they give up more rushes in the fourth quarter than they do early.
I would assume so. Yeah. I mean, just looking at they've scored 19 points in the first quarter. They've given up 38. So twice as many points, 2-1. 39-37 in the second quarter. So they played pretty evenly in the second quarter. They've been outscored 36-23 in the third quarter and 38-18 in the fourth quarter.
Outscored.
Yeah. So in the first and fourth quarters, they're getting doubled up.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a great reason for that either, but I definitely think there's something to the Steelers' second half point differential.
Oh, there definitely is. It's happened too many times.
Too overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I do think, assuming this is a close game and you're running the ball well into the fourth quarter, that the dam will start to break if it hasn't by then, too.
I also look at this. So they lost to the Vikings 28-6.
You said that was opening day, right?
Opening game, yeah. They had 18 points against Washington, 21 in a win over Cleveland, but some of that was Cleveland offense just doing. They couldn't get out of their own way.
Really, really poor.
They had 15 points against the Cowboys, 29 in the win over Seattle, 7 against Cincinnati, 3 against Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I mean, the three best defenses that they've played against. Well, I mean, Cleveland we thought was a good defense, but they're not.
All right.
Minnesota's a good defense.
Yes.
They scored 6 points.
Seattle with a healthy D-line that they faced is a lot better than Seattle a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, which is when they faced them.
Yeah.
And then Cincinnati's not a good defense. They scored 7 points.
I don't even think Philly's that great a defense.
Philly's not a great defense. They scored 3 points. Like this offense, they're averaging 290 yards per game.
I certainly think Neighbors makes a difference. I mean, he's their best offensive player. But last week, it was all came down to the offensive line.
Yeah.
They just can't block anybody right now, and protection is horrific.
Yeah, but some of the defensive numbers. I mean, they're allowing a 30.1% third down conversion rate. That's really good.
It's really good. They do have a handful of top of the league numbers on defense. Sacks are in particular.
Yeah, so don't be surprised if this isn't. Oh, the Steelers are going to hang another 30 up this week. I don't think they are.
No, and the other thing too is a lot of it stems from the pass rush, but teams are not holding the ball a long time either. They're getting it out of their hands.
Yeah.
They don't have a real high average depth of target. They don't have a lot of I don't know what their yards after the catch is, but it's not bad. I mean, that hasn't been as much of a tackling issue as tackling running backs and quarterbacks, apparently.
Apparently they can't tackle quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Really, if you look at their rushing numbers, I mean, they've run for 711 yards. They've given up 967.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the difference between the quarterback runs, but their quarterback does run the ball. So
a lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they're allowing 1.5 yards more than they're gaining on the ground is startling. To me, that's the number that stands out most.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's really from chunk runs. It's not
the chunk runs, and some of it have been the quarterbacks.
Yeah, like I bet their success rate is decent against the run compared to allowing the big plays, because they allow a lot of big plays on the ground.
Yeah. The funny thing also is that they run Daniel Jones a lot.
A lot.
He's only averaging 3.7 yards per carry.
I know, and he's taking a beating doing it too.
It does, you've got running backs who are both averaging more than 3.7 yards per carry. Mm-hmm. Why not use them?
I know. I just think they're not sure what to do with Jones at this point. I mean, I think they're pulling their hair out. When Daboll won Coach of the Year, Jones ran for a bunch of yards that year. He was actually.
Remember, Daboll came from Buffalo, where he had Josh Allen.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, Daniel Jones was highly fantasy relevant, even though he threw like 12 or 13 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And so I think they don't know quite what to do with him.
I think it's maybe they're just better with him running the ball as opposed to throwing it, because he can throw it real well. But he has 50 carries in 7 games.
Yeah,
he's going to run the football.
He's going to run the ball a lot. I mean, that is absolutely a part of their game plan, and it's not sliding it down, scrambles all the time. It's a lot of designed runs. He runs hard. He's not easy to tackle either, but he takes a lot of punishment.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the distribution, Devin Singletary, he missed a couple of games. But he leads them with 61 carries. Tyrone Tracy has 53, and then it's Daniel Jones with 50.
Yeah, that adds up.
I mean, that's probably the closest distribution for any team in the league.
I would bet.
Lamar doesn't run the ball that much.
No, not to mention, too, Tracy was hard to trust early in the season, and now he's starting to be what looks like the guy. Singletary missed time, as you mentioned, and the threes aren't anything to write home about.
Yeah.
So those 3 touch the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, it's 5 guys touch the ball a lot.
Yeah, really.
It really is, because tight ends don't get used at all.
No.
A third receiver doesn't get used much unless Neighbors is out.
Yeah, Slayton's got 25 catches, but most of that came in the game.
2 days.
Yeah.
Those 2 games, right.
And
Robinson's usage is crazy. I mean,
nuts.
he gets tons of targets for very little yardage.
He's on pace to have over 100 catches this year, just over 100.
Mm-hmm.
And
Big number.
And about 700 receiving yards.
Hard to believe, right? And he's elusive, and, he's not hard to knock down. He's not powerful, but you'd think he'd be getting more after the catch than that.
Yeah.
But people were keying on the quick hitters with him, too.
And I think I mentioned just earlier in the week, they have 16 kickoff returns already this year. Mm-hmm. The Steelers had 16 all of last season.
Wow. Okay. The Steelers are not allowing any yardage.
The Steelers aren't giving,
period.
But the Giants averaged 24.1 yards per return with a long return of 31 yards.
It's not very good.
We know the Steelers are good on special teams.
Yeah.
I would expect them to try to force the Giants to return some kicks. And their main kick return guy is Eric Gray, their
third back.
Third back. Well, he's lost 2 fumbles.
He's got a couple fumbles already.
Put the ball in his hands.
Yeah, and if they're starting on the 24th or a 24-yard line on average, great.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think you had it in your stat pack this week. The Steelers were number 1 in terms of.
I'll pull it up, but their offense and defense are both at the top of the league in terms of average starting field position. Yeah. They're both top 5,
which is what you want to be. Yeah.
And that just means. I think we've talked about the graph that I retweeted about special teams and turnovers. No one in the league is even close to what the Steelers are getting.
The Steelers are way up in the top right-hand corner.
It's bonkers.
And then everybody else is down in the middle or below that.
Yeah, right. They're like, you can't find them. And they're like, oh, there they are. They're up way ahead of everybody else. Well, that leads to really good or starting field position on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
That's a key.
And some of that with the turnovers have been the Steelers have a lot of 6 red zone turnovers forced.
Mm-hmm. Forced, right.
Yeah. So you're not getting great field position coming out of those.
That's a good point. You are starting over at your own 5 sometimes or something like that.
Yeah. So, that kind of even skews that number a little bit.
And as you mentioned, they haven't had many returns either. So that's at the 30. That's at the 30.
Yeah.
Over and over and over.
Yeah. So I think we'll see Cordell Patterson back. I'm really interested now that the weather has started to turn, probably be in the 50s or so on Monday night.
Be breezy though, or
is the Giants kicker going to be able to get the ball into the end zone, or is he going to have to kick it to Cordell Patterson?
Hopefully, he's starting to get some opportunities. I was actually thinking about asking Missy about that. Like, is he getting frustrated just kneeling? He hasn't been.
He doesn't seem to be.
Right?
Yeah, he knows. He knows that they're coming.
So, the Steelers' offense average drives on the 32.4 yard line. Only the Saints and Bills are better. And their defenses start at the 26.2 yard line. It doesn't sound like much, but that's a big discrepancy over the course of X amount of drives over the course of the year. And the Saints are better than them there, too. I don't know why the Saints are number 1 in both. That doesn't add up at all.
No.
Maybe they're really good on
the early
teams.
start that,
Yeah, maybe a lot of it's the first 2 games.
Yeah.
They had a ton of big plays, obviously.
Yeah, I don't imagine they're going to finish there.
Maybe their special teams are better than I thought, too. But
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
I was shocked they were at the top for both.
Let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 here in just a little bit. But before we go, you can join former members of the Black and Gold for Kids Flag Football Clinics at North Serene Park on Saturday, November 9th. Instructors include Mike Logan and Roosevelt Nix, plus Kayla Pierce from the Pittsburgh Passion. Registration for your school-aged child is free. That is free.
It's a good price.
Yes. Go to the calendar page at dve.com to sign up today. Kids Flag Football Clinics are brought to you by U.S. Steel, S&T Bank, Millie's Truck Pittsburgh, and South Hills Auto. I'm Dale Lally. We'll be back with more on the drive right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lally. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is the Drive on the Steelers Audio Network, and it is time to pick our fantasy
serious here.
football lineup, our DFS lineup for the week. And let me just say this. If you're a new listener to this show,
you wouldn't know it.
Wouldn't know it, but we're usually pretty good at this. Now, this year has gone a little crazy because seemingly every week we pick a receiver to put into the game who takes a 0.
Hard to win that way.
Hard to win that way in
not
DFS.
Do that just right now.
Let's try. We will effort to not do that this week. Let's take a look at defenses first, as we always do. Maybe we need to change this up and do it differently.
Whatever makes you happy.
Let's go quarterback first this week.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson is 8,000.
Okay.
Against Cleveland. Josh Allen 7,800 against Seattle. Jalen Hurts 7,500 against the Bengals. Jordan Love against Jacksonville is 7,100. I really like that.
I do too. I think Jacksonville's in trouble with all the body clock stuff, and
They're
secondary's
32nd
really bad.
against quarterbacks.
I knew they
as
were
it
really
is.
bad. Yeah, their pass defense is horrendous.
Joe Burrow is 7,000. C.J. Stroud against Indianapolis is 6,900.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes, boy, how the mighty have fallen, against Vegas, 6,800.
I can be convinced on that. Not even because of Nuke Hopkins, just Vegas is bad.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield, 6,700. Patrick Mahomes is $100 more than Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, what's going on here? And Mayfield doesn't have receivers.
He has no receivers. Jared Goff against the Titans is 6,600.
That's not bad.
Dak Prescott, 6,500 against San Francisco. Kyler Murray is 6,400 against Miami. Brock Purdy, 6,300 against Dallas. Kirk Cousins, 6,200 against Tampa Bay. Remember, he threw for 500 yards the last time they played. Tua Tagovailoa, 6,100 against Arizona. They are 29th against opposing quarterbacks.
I love the over in that game. I'd be interested in a lot of players from that game. I assume Tua was playing. I mean, it sure looks that way.
Yeah. For some reason, Justin Fields is 6,000.
Okay.
Did we not get the memo? I don't know. Caleb Williams, 6,000. Russell Wilson, 5,900 against the Giants.
Okay.
Geno Smith against Buffalo is 5,900.
How much did you say Caleb Williams is?
He is 6,000 against Washington.
So that's a bad defense, too.
That's a bad defense. Geno Smith, 5,900. Russell Wilson, 5,900. Joe Flacco, 5,800. Anthony Richardson, 5,800.
Pretty cheap for him.
Aaron Rodgers, 5,700. Trevor Lawrence is 5,600. If you think that the Green Bay is going to be
I mean, he has weapons and that's pretty cheap. He runs.
Bo Nix, 5,600 against Carolina. Drake May is 5,500 against the Jets. Justin Herbert is 5,400 against New Orleans.
Wow.
He's the same price as Sam Howell. How about that?
That's crazy. Cheaper than Justin Fields.
Marcus Mariota.
I don't know that he's
5,300 against Chicago.
I don't know if you heard this, but Jalen Daniels practiced in full.
Okay.
And they said they pushed it to see how bad the ribs hurt tomorrow, basically.
What did that mean? They hit him with a baseball bat in the ribs?
I say they just treat him like it's a live game and just have Daron Payne fall on him, or what? I thought that was odd, too.
Let's go out and get in the car wreck.
All right.
Daniel Jones, 5,300 against the Steelers. Jameis Winston against Baltimore is 5,200.
That's not terrible. He doesn't run.
He doesn't run, but Baltimore's 30th against opposing quarterbacks.
Yeah. And they're going to throw a lot.
If you think that the Browns can protect him is the big question.
Probably not, but I mean, he's going to chuck it.
He is going to chuck it. That's really about it for the starters.
Love was the expensive one I liked.
Yes, I love Love.
Mahomes was the relatively expensive one I liked.
$300 less than
I thought there was a
Love.
bigger discrepancy there.
Yeah.
You mentioned Lawrence. I thought that was interesting on the cheap.
Tua at 6,100.
Tua was the other one that was more expensive than Lawrence.
Because I think they're going to want to, hey, look, the gang's back together. Let's throw the ball all over.
I think they're going to throw a ton.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a lot of points in that game, and Arizona, to me, is little resistance.
6,100.
I'm in.
Let's plug it in.
He won't run at all in this game.
No. No. They might have a force field around them.
Yeah.
They might have one of those dog collars that they put at the line of scrimmage, and if he tries to get to the line of scrimmage, it just shocks
Like the
him.
invisible fence, yeah.
All right. Let's go to tight end now.
Okay.
Brock Bauer, 6,100.
He's going to be at the top of the list every week.
Kansas City is 32nd against opposing
That
tight
surprises
ends.
me. That's a good defense.
New linebackers, though, this year. They got some different guys at linebacker. Travis Kelce in that same game, 6,000. Kittle, 5,800. He is questionable. Trey McBride in that,
That's not bad.
5,500, but they're third against opposing
Are they
tight
really?
ends. Yeah.
Okay.
Jake Ferguson, 5,300. David Njoku, 5,100. Baltimore's 28th against
I said
opposing tight
Njoku
ends.
excites me. I think he's gotten a lot better over the last year or two.
Evan Ingram, 5,000. They're 23rd against opposing tight ends.
Both those guys are
He
interesting.
gets the ball a lot.
He does.
He won't
never
score a
scores,
touchdown, but he might have 12 catches.
This could be the week, though.
Dalton Kincaid, 4,900. Seattle's 26th against opposing tight ends. Sam Laporta, you're dead to me.
It's insane, yeah.
Cole Kmet, 4,700. Again, they play Washington.
He's gotten a lot better this year, too. I gave him very little respect.
Tucker Kraft is $4,600. Jacksonville is 25th against opposing tight ends.
That seems wrong to me. I mean, Musgrave's not in the picture.
Kyle Pitts, 4,400. Tampa Bay is 22nd against opposing tight ends. He's been relevant.
No, he's been catching balls.
Pat Freiermuth, 4,300. The Giants are 6th against opposing tight ends. Isaiah Likely, 4,300. Zach Ertz, 4,200. Dalton Schultz, 4,100. Indianapolis is 30th against opposing tight ends. Mark Andrews, 4,000. Taysom Hill, 3,900. Hunter Henry, 3,800.
That's too cheap for him, too.
We still haven't gotten our guy yet, though. Where is Cade Otton? There he is at 3,500.
That's too cheap for him, too.
3,500 for Cade Otton.
I think you sign him up. He's going to be heavily owned.
If he catches 4 passes,
it's worth that.
which he will.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're going to throw the ball.
Yeah. Now, he may be really chalky. Tua might be chalky.
I think he will.
But
there was 5 or 6 nice tight end options, but he's cheap.
he's way too cheap.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead now and look at defenses.
Let's get a D,
Yeah. All right. We'll start. Let's go. We're not going Titans. We're not going Jaguars. Panthers, no. Raiders, no. It's easy to eliminate some of these defenses.
There's
Cowboys,
some really bad
no.
ones,
Browns, no. Seahawks against Buffalo, no. Giants against the Steelers.
Sacks.
2,500.
Consider it. I mean, I think
the Steelers don't turn the ball over, and the Giants don't take it away.
That's a problem.
But they do get sacks.
They get sacks, and I don't know if the Steelers are going to. I think the Steelers are going to play this rather conservative.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to try to put the ball
If
in
you
harm's
only
way.
get sacks, your floor is like 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not enough. Patriots are 2,500 against the Jets. Saints, no. Falcons are 2,600 against Tampa Bay.
It's okay.
Colts, 2,700. The Bears are 2,700 against the
Daniels has
Washington.
has a chance to play. The Bears have a good D, though.
The Buccaneers are 2,800.
I don't know which one I'd rather have in that game.
The Bengals are 2,800.
Doesn't do much for me either.
Commanders are 2,900. The Cardinals are 2,900.
No.
The 49ers are 3,000. I don't like any of these defenses.
No.
The Dolphins are
we talked about it
3,000.
in the week. I didn't love them any.
Buffalo is 3,000 at Seattle. The Eagles it's against Cincinnati are 3,100. The Texans against the Colts are 3,100. I don't hate that.
Okay.
If Richardson comes out and can't hit the broadside of a barn again,
yeah,
where are the Colts scoring their points at?
Taylor's back. Not that that's a massive deal breaker, but
All right, I got one here. This is the one
I haven't heard one that I'm jumping out of my skin.
The
over
Chargers against New Orleans are 3,300.
yet. Oh, I'm in on that.
Yeah, let's plug it in.
Yeah.
That's the best cheap one that I've seen.
Yeah, that's New Orleans is horrible.
Oh my God, they can't
Yeah.
operate.
You're right. There'll be sacks in that game too.
Oh yeah. All right, running backs. We're looking at Saquon Barkley at 8,300, Derrick Henry 8,100, Jordan Mason 7,900, Kenneth Walker 7,800, Joe Mixon 7,700, Alvin Kamara 7,600. Taylor is 7,500, Jahmyr Gibbs 7,400, Breece Hall is 7,300. New England is 30th against.
He gets like
opposing
every
numbers.
carry since the coaching change.
Yeah.
He's
Not
my
bad.
favorite so far. Yeah.
Bijan Robinson, 7,200. James Cook, 7,000. J.K. Dobbins against that Saints defense.
It's not bad either. He was kind
It
of quiet
also gives
last
up
week.
5.4 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Is 6,900.
Yeah, it might be working in our favor that he was quiet last week.
Chuba Hubbard, 6,700. Josh Jacobs against Jacksonville, 6,600. Caught his first touchdown pass in his career last week.
I know.
Now the player with the longest streak of catching passes without having a touchdown, do you know who it is?
In their life? Or just
In their NFL
streak
career.
going? No.
Jaylen Warren.
Huh. How about that?
Yeah. James Conner, 6,500.
Do worse.
Tony Pollard, 6,500. David Montgomery, 6,400.
Seems a little cheap for him, too.
Brian Robinson, 6,400. Kareem Hunt against Vegas, 6,300.
He's bending the ball. I mean, he's getting a big.
All of them.
He doesn't even have to be good.
Tank Bigsby, 6,300. DeAndre Swift against Washington is 6,200.
They throw him the ball.
Devin Achan against Arizona is 6,200.
I think that's way too cheap.
Nick Chubb, 6,100. Najee Harris, 6,100. Garendo is 6,100. Rico Dowdell, 6,000. Javonte Williams against Carolina is 6,000.
They're huge favorites.
Carolina's 32nd against opposing running backs.
He doesn't even have to get the bulk of the carries to make that.
Ramondre Stevenson, 6,000. Raheem Mostert, 5,900. Devin Singletary, 5,900. Chase Brown, 5,800. Zach Moss, 5,700.
How are the Eagles against backs?
Not bad, actually, fifth.
I thought they'd be more middle of the road.
Tyrone Tracy is 5,700. Rashad White is 5,700.
I'm not sure what's going on with
Bucky Irving's hurt.
Yeah, there was something on my phone just popped up that they made an announcement on that. I'll take a look.
Ekeler against Chicago is 5,600. Alexander Madison is 5,600. Tyler Johnson, 5,500. Goodson is 5,500. Justice Hill, 5,400. Gibson, 5,400. I don't even see I haven't even gotten to.
You haven't mentioned Warren yet.
I haven't mentioned Irving at all. Where the heck's he at? He should be in there somewhere, and I don't see him. Maybe.
I'm not seeing in Irving news. Maybe I made that up.
Oh, way to go, Matt. There's some nice.
Dobbins was interesting.
I like Dobbins a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Swift wasn't bad.
I think he bounces back in a big way. That's 6,900. That's a little over budget.
Dobbins.
Yeah. Swift is 6,200. That's a little, just barely over. Achan at 6,200.
Achan stood out to me. That's one I was racking my brain about over here.
Yeah.
I think they'll get him the ball. Let's plug him in.
And Javonte Williams
That's
against
not bad
Carolina
either.
is good.
Yeah. Any interest in like a low end Denver running back, like the super cheapies?
Oh, there's Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving's 5,800.
I kind of like Williams and Achan. Javonte.
That's a little cheaper. So
So that
Achan
has to be kind of.
and Javonte. That leaves us 6,225 to spend on our wide receivers and flex on average.
Let's keep Dobbins in mind, though.
Yeah, if we have room for the flex, we can put him in.
Or if we want to
Wide
upgrade
receiver,
someone.
C.D. Lamb, 8,600. Jamar Chase, 8,500. Amon Ross St. Brown, 8,400. A.J. Brown is 8,200. Stephon Diggs, 7,500. Drake London, 7,200. He went nuts a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Devontae Adams, 7,100. Tyreek Hill, 7,000.
We already have two Dolphins, but he should never be that cheap.
Did you hear him celebrating about the gang being back together this week?
No. Does he have a questionable designation?
He
Remember
does.
He missed a little bit of time.
He does, but he wasn't spotted during the initial portion of practice on a Friday. That's not good. Maybe we want to rethink our Tua. Malik Neighbor, 7,000. Debo Samuel, 6,900. Terry McLaurin, 6,900. Zay Flowers is questionable, but he's 6,800. Marvin Harrison Jr., no thank you.
Yeah, it's
6,800. Well. Jaden Reed, 6,700. Garrett Wilson, 6,700.
Pretty cheap for him.
DJ Moore, 6,600.
Pretty cheap for him, too.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
Devonta Smith, 6,600.
He's been really quiet.
T. Higgins is 6,500.
He's questionable.
Chris Olave, 6,400. He has no designation
Yeah,
now.
so he's back, yeah.
Brian Thomas Jr., 6,400.
That's too cheap for him, too.
Deontay Johnson is out this week, by the way.
Yes.
Tank Dell, 6,300. You took a 0 for us last week. George Pickens, 6,300. Xavier Worthy, 6,200. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 6,100. Everybody else is hurt.
Yeah. Pickens seems too cheap, too.
Yeah. Amari Cooper, 6,000. Michael Pittman, 6,000. Khalil Shakir, 5,900. Wandell Robinson, 5,900. Keenan Allen, 5,800. Darnell Mooney, 5,800.
You haven't seen Jalen Waddle's name yet.
I have not, because he hasn't done anything in weeks.
I know.
Tyler Lockett, 5,600. Keon Coleman, 5,600. Christian Kirk, 5,500. Josh Downs, 5,500.
I like that neighborhood.
Jacoby Myers, 5,400.
Is he questionable too?
Yeah. Jalen Waddle, 5,400.
I like that. Is he questionable?
Yes.
Yeah. We worried about him or Tyreek with our Tua pick?
I think they want to come back.
Yeah.
Now, it said the report said Tyreek wasn't spotted in Friday's practice, which is it makes it interesting. Waddle, there was no he was just limited yesterday. I would expect him to be.
That's why I was thinking. What if Tyreek misses and we get Waddle?
Waddle goes nuts.
Right. That's what I'm.
At 5,400, yeah.
Yeah, I think. I mean,
let's plug it in.
That's 3 Dolphins, but that's okay.
Yeah, if we have to pivot off of him at 5,400,
we'll find somebody.
I'll find somebody there, Dontavian Wicks or somebody to throw in there.
He's just too good a player for that.
Yeah, or take a moon shot on Alec Pierce or something. I don't know. DeAndre Hopkins is 4,900, by the way.
I think he'll get the ball.
You think Mahomes wants to show off the new toy?
Yeah, I mean it's just a Kansas City Andy Reid.
Yeah.
First time in the red zone.
Yeah, here he is.
Let's do it.
I don't know if we need to do it yet.
Okay.
That's who I'll pivot to if Waddle is declared out.
All right.
Because that is a 1:00 game on Sunday, so I'll have time to
we'll
that
know
change.
that one.
That's our pivot if Waddle is out. Because there's some other receivers on here that I like. That gets us now. We can average 6,500 the rest of the way. We don't need 2 cheap receivers.
Okay. I forgot how cheap Waddle is.
Yeah, he's way too cheap with Tua back. So of those higher price receivers, who did you like there?
London's
Colin. He's 7,200.
Pickens, but he wasn't real expensive. I just think they throw Pickens the ball all the time.
He's 6,300, so that's a little under budget.
I mean, he has like all their air yards.
So if we go Pickens and we go Drake London, we have $6,000 left, and guess who cost $6,000?
I don't know.
J.K. Dobbins.
Ah, okay.
How about that?
I think that fits in great.
That would get us Kelsey, Amari Cooper, Michael Pittman, Rico Dowdell, Stevenson. Well, maybe it didn't get us J.K. Dobbins.
No.
It doesn't get us.
More expensive than those guys.
Where was Dobbins at? I thought Dobbins was cheap. Let me see here. Where's Dobbins? Dobbins is 6,900. We can't afford Dobbins.
Okay.
So we can get Kelsey, Amari Cooper, Michael Pittman, Rico Dowdell, Ramondre Stevenson, Raheem Mostert, Devin Singletary, Travis Etienne, Khalil Shakir, Wan'Dale Robinson.
I don't like any of those.
I don't like any of those guys. Keenan Allen, Darnell Mooney.
So who do we want to get out of them?
We want to go cheaper on defense?
You can get out of London?
We could get out of London. Yeah.
Get 2.
7,200 is.
I mean, that's a big
big
ticket
number.
item there, yeah.
I'll bet we'll find. So Devontae Adams is 7,100. Malik Neighbors is 7,000.
Pickens is in the lineup, right?
Pickens is in there at 6,300, yes. McLaurin is 6,900.
I'd prefer if Daniels was playing. So no.
Zay Flowers, 6,800. What's his? He's got
a questionable something.
He returned to practice on Friday.
Remember, he hurt his ankle during that game.
Marvin Harrison, 6,800. Jaden Reed, 6,700. Garrett Wilson, 6,700.
What if we put Dobbins in the flex and then see what that leaves us receiver-wise?
Okay, we can do that.
Because he seems like the one we like.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to catch the ball for them, too, which he just never did.
They might have, 45 minutes time.
Okay, that gives us $6,300.
Receiver.
Tank Dell, Xavier Worthy, Jackson Smith and Jigba at 6,100.
That I don't dislike at all. I mean, he's been a little bit of an underachiever, and his average
targets are there, though.
I know, it's just short. But I don't think Metcalf's going to play.
Metcalf's not going to play.
And Lockett's questionable.
Yeah.
He's going to be on the field every snap.
And plug it in?
My favorite name in that neighborhood.
Okay. That actually leaves us with $200 left over. So let's take a look at the defenses here, because we went 3,300 there. Is there somebody?
Yeah, we were happy with the Chargers and just settled.
Is there somebody? The Jets against New England?
They're going to get sacked.
The Steelers against the Giants? The Ravens against the Browns? We can afford all those.
They're
defenses.
all better than the Chargers.
Which one do you want?
Jets or Steelers?
They're both the same price, so let's go Steelers.
Yeah,
there we go.
Considering the network we're on?
Yeah, why not? We got 2 Steelers in the lineup.
Okay.
That is Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback at 6,100. Devin Achan at 6,200 at one running back spot.
Before you go further, can you do me one favor?
Yes.
Who's $200 more than Tua?
$200 more than Tua.
If we were to go back to the Chargers D.
Nobody that we can.
Nobody.
Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. There is. That would get us Kirk Cousins or Brock Purdy.
I'd rather have Tua than both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would too. Devin Achan at 6,200. Javonte Williams at 6,000. Jalen Waddle at 5,400. But if he's out, we're going to pivot to
Nuke
Hopkins. George Pickens at 6,300. Jackson Smith and Jigba at 6,100. Cade Otton at 3,500. J.K. Dobbins at 6,900 in the flex. The Steelers defense at 3,500.
Otton's going to be chalky, but I like the lineup a lot.
Yeah. No,
Lock it up.
Let's lock it in. All right. Need a winner this week.
No zeros.
No
zero.
zeros.
No whammies.
That is the key. No zeros. No, I mean, I this week more so than any other week this season, as we saw when we were going through the defenses, there's a lot of haves versus have-nots.
There's a lot of big spreads this week.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about them next segment, of course, but there's a lot of big spreads that are over touchdowns.
Yeah, which you don't often. We haven't seen it much this year at all, actually.
And there aren't, unlike last week, there aren't a lot of heavyweight fights either.
Yeah.
There's not Vikings, Lions, or, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Niners, Cowboys is good. Texans and Indy means a lot, but if that's one of the
Buffalo,
best
Seattle
games,
means a
that's
lot.
a good
Yeah.
one too. Yeah, but I mean, there's no great games.
Yeah, I agree with you. We'll go through those when we come back. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lally. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can listen to The Drive every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. right here on Steelers Nation Radio. You can download the Steelers mobile app and get the show on demand there. You can also watch the show on YouTube. And a lot of people are doing that. We appreciate that. Good way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Throw it on while you're at work, and you can just – you don't even have to watch. You can just listen.
Yep.
While you're working. Your boss thinks you're doing your job. You're listening to Matt and Dale.
Yep.
That's the way it goes. And Missy today. So
I miss you today.
just a reminder,
Yep.
no show on Monday because of the game Monday night, but we will be back on Tuesday.
We're both on the pregame show, too, though.
We are. You can listen to us there. But you can also we'll be back with more on this particular show right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lally, and he is the Matt Williamson. And, Matt, we said in the previous segment that there weren't a lot of heavyweight games this week. But as you mentioned, there are some very meaningful games in the NFL this week. And the first one we're going to talk about is a 1 o'clock game on ESPN, CBS, I should say, on CBS. And it's 4-2 Eagles at the 3-4 Bengals. Both teams on a 3-game winning streak here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, both teams on a 2-game winning streak, trying to get to 3. Cincinnati favored by 2.5. The over/under is 47.5.
I think the wrong team's favored.
I think so too.
Even in Cincy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 4 great receivers. I just think Philly's corners are better suited to deal with them.
And I think Saquon goes nuts in this game.
100%. We saw they have tackle issues in Cincy. Now, I think Philly's pass rush was a little inflated playing the Giants, but they had 9 sacks or whatever just a week ago. I definitely give a quarterback nudge to Cincy, and it's in Cincy, of course. But the Bengals defense is by far the worst unit of the 4.
Without a doubt. I think the more physical team will be the Eagles.
Yeah. And was Barkley number 1 in DFS?
Yes.
Running backs? Yeah. He should be. Him and Henry.
I think he goes nuts in this game, and I think the Eagles win it straight up.
I do too. I was shocked that they were getting points.
Yeah.
I think they're the better team.
The Eagles are 8-1 in their past 9 games when the spread closes between +3 and -3.
Huh. Okay.
So they win these kind of
close games, right?
Tight games.
What games do you think will be close?
Yeah. Another game that's a big one in the division. At 5-2, the Ravens head to the Browns, who are 2-6.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they got to 2. Baltimore favored by 8. That was like 9.5 when it opened.
Yeah. I think
the over/under is just 44.5.
So here's what I think happens in that game: is I think the Browns come out in the best attitude they've had yet. Winston, say what you want about him on the field, his teammates adore him.
Yeah.
And he's a real
Because he's a goofball.
He's a really good leader. He's tough as can be. And that's great. And I think that they'll have a shot in the arm in the first half, will maybe even go the Browns' way.
But he's a statue in the pocket.
He's going to get a lot. And I also think by about 45 minutes into the game, 50 minutes into the game, that starts to wear off.
Yeah.
And
Henry's bludgeoning.
yeah. And the defense starts looking at each other like, what are we doing here again? And
We're 2-6. We're not going anywhere.
Right. That was fun and all, but this isn't fun anymore. And the Ravens own the end of the game.
Yeah.
But does that mean you win by more than a touchdown? I'm going to say yes.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think they do. I think maybe they force Jameis.
He might throw you one.
He might throw you one. You might hit him and force it out. Again, you know where he's going to be at. The Ravens will blitz.
Yeah.
They're going to get after him a little bit. And, well, that's one of the bold predictions here. I'm looking here on ESPN. Jameis Winston will be sacked at least 5 times. And we'll also throw 2 touchdowns, but they're not going to be able to deal with Baltimore's pressure packages.
Okay. I could absolutely see that. Been a lot of changes on the O-line, too.
Yeah.
Wish it was under a touchdown, but I do think the Ravens own the end of the game.
Yeah, I do too. The Titans at 1-5. This was one of the haves versus the have-nots. Not that Cleveland and Baltimore was not.
Mm-hmm.
At 1-5, the Titans are at the 5-1 Lions. Detroit favored by 11. This one goes to 11. And the over/under is 44.5. Little Spinal Tap reference there for you if you don't know. These younger guys.
Younger pups might know that one.
This one goes to 11. Why isn't it 10? It's 11. It's better.
I think I like the Lions.
Yeah,
it's a big number, though.
They're going to smoke them.
I don't know where the Titans' points come from.
That's the thing.
Yeah, their defense can.
It is
going to
be Mason Rudolph again.
Yeah,
but
he's going to get hit. I mean, it's not like their pass rush is great, but that's just a good football team.
Yeah,
in their building, it's another one. The defense is going to be on the field a lot.
At 3-4, the Cardinals are at the 2-4 Dolphins. Miami favored by just 3.5. The over/under 45.5.
I like the over.
The over sounds really nice.
Yeah,
that's kind of held down by what the Dolphins have been.
There could be a little weather.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't think that's a big deal.
I mean, we just put 3 Dolphins in our DFS lineup, so we think the Dolphins are going to win this one.
And we do. I absolutely do. I think their defense is noticeably better than the Cardinals' defense.
Yes, absolutely. At 2-5, the Jets are at the 1-6 Patriots. Here come the Jets, baby. They're going to be back.
So we're either going to, or many will be talking about on Monday, are the Jets back or are they officially junk?
Well, they're favored by 7, and the over/under is 40.5.
They're on a pretty substantial losing streak too here. I just keep coming back to the Patriots O-line. I mean, blocking Quentin Williams and McDonald and those guys. I think the Jets cover. It's a big number.
It's a big number. It's 7. It's a touchdown.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers was out of practice all week long.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on with the Jets' cornerback situation. Hopefully,
good point.
They get some of those guys back. I still think they beat them handily.
I do too.
At 4-3, the Falcons are at the 4-3 Buccaneers. Battle through the NFC South lead. Atlanta favored by 2.5. The over/under 46.5. I'll take the Falcons.
I'm going to take the home dog in a division game. I know Evans and Godwin are out, and that's why the number is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise they'd be favored by 2.5 or 3. I think the Bucs have a really good O-line now, though, and
they do.
They should be able to run the ball.
They do.
Division game, getting points at home.
I just don't trust Baker.
He's a
I can't get the thoughts of what happened in that game the other. I mean, him just throwing hospital ball after hospital ball.
Falcons' offense has been coming around too.
At 5-2, the Packers are at the 2-5 Jaguars. Do we finally shovel all the dirt on the Jaguars here? They're 3.5-point underdogs at home. The over/under is 49.5. The Jaguars just spent a week and a half in London.
I really dislike
coming back over to play. I love the Packers.
I love the Packers too. I really do.
Yeah, I think they just smoke them.
I mean, that's
the worst pass defense in the league.
Right.
I just think Jordan Love just
has a big day.
As long as he doesn't throw 4 picks, as long as he doesn't do what the Syracuse quarterback did last night, he should be okay.
Yeah.
The Colts at 4-3 are at the Texans at 5-2. Houston favored by 5. The over/under 45.5.
This is a big game.
It's a huge game.
This is probably the biggest.
Houston won in
game.
Indianapolis earlier this season.
Mm-hmm. I think they win again.
But the Texans haven't been playing well.
No, they haven't. And their defense, though, I still like. Hard to trust Richardson, but they get Buckner and Jonathan Taylor back. I think that's huge. I'm going to take the Texans in this one. I don't feel great about it,
I don't
though,
love
with
the
number.
five.
I know.
Yeah,
I don't
5's
love
a tough
the
number.
It's a big number for a team that's not quite put it all together yet.
Yeah, I can see him winning like 24-20, and you're like, eh.
Yeah. I wouldn't touch it, but I would take the Texans.
Yeah. The Saints at 2-5 are at the 3-3 Chargers. The Chargers favored by a touchdown. The over/under 40.5,
which is a lot for how the Chargers are built. But we love their D.
They're going to run the
We
ball.
love their
the
running
Saints,
game.
The Saints have a legitimately bad run defense.
Yeah.
Whereas
and no offense.
The Giants' run defense has been big plays here and there.
Yeah.
The Saints, you consistently get yardage against.
Mm-hmm. I'll lay the 7.
Yeah, I don't love it because
it's a big number.
The Chargers have no home field advantage against anybody.
Are the Saints fans super excited to travel at the moment, though?
Yeah.
Right.
But if this is your only chance, you live on the West Coast, and it's your only chance to go see the Saints.
And you already bought tickets before the season.
I guess, but ugh.
There's a lot of games here with big spreads that are stayaways for me.
Yeah.
Because,
at 5-2,
like one team's terrible and the other team's not awesome. They're all like pretty good, you know.
At 5-2, the Bills are at the 4-3 Seahawks at 4:00. Buffalo favored by 3. The over/under 46.5.
This is a tough one for me too. I mean, that's a rough road trip.
Yeah. Buffalo's defensive line against Seattle's offensive line is a distinct advantage.
Yeah.
If Metcalf were playing in this one,
I'd say they're a little short
feel
on
better,
weapons.
But
road dog by the field goal. I guess I'd take
you
the
can
Bills.
run the team. You can run the ball pretty well. Like
Allen's not turning it over.
He's not.
Yeah, Seahawks D.
That might change this week. I'm going to go out.
That could be.
He's due. He's due to throw a pick.
Yeah, it's not a bad prediction.
That's a tough place to play too.
Amari's going to get more incorporated. I think I'd take Buffalo.
Yeah, I probably would too. But I don't know if it's by 3 though.
Mm-hmm. It's a good number. I don't love being on the road, giving up a field goal.
No. At 1-6, the Panthers are at the 4-3 Broncos. Can the Broncos get the 5-3? My goodness.
Well, they're gonna.
Denver's favored by 10.
Last I saw was 11.
Over under is 41.5. Bryce Young is playing, and he has no receivers to throw to.
Deontay is not. Their defense is so bad. I'm going to take Denver, but Sean Payton might just run and win by 8. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know if they cover.
I don't know how the Panthers score more than 10 points.
And they weren't going to stop anybody.
Yeah.
It's just a big number.
It is a huge number for not a
Denver?
good football team.
Right.
Yeah. At 6-0, the Chiefs are at the 2-5 Raiders. Again, Kansas City favored by 9.5, the over-under 41.5. The Raiders beat the Chiefs last year.
Yeah. And Kansas City doesn't blow teams out.
9.5's a lot.
It is a lot. I bet there's going to be a lot of Chiefs fans, though.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt.
I'll take Kansas City reluctantly.
The Raiders are 3-1 against the spread at home against the Chiefs since moving to Las Vegas.
3-1?
3-1.
That's not enough of a trend for me to care that much about.
It's a big division game.
Kansas City traditionally they don't have great records against anybody, including the line.
When against the spread, because the spreads are always much higher.
Inflated, yeah.
I'll take the Raiders in this one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. 9.5 is too much for a team.
Crosby gives them problems.
The Chiefs score fewer points this year than the Steelers do. Steelers are at 23 points per game.
Yeah.
Kansas City is not a high-flying, throw it all over the yard.
I think you said they were like last in the league or something against tight ends or low in the league.
They're not. Yeah.
I know Crosby gives their tackles.
The Raiders aren't going to be able to run the ball, but they can't run the ball against anybody.
No, they can't. I don't feel good about it, but I'm going to take the Chiefs.
I'll take the points.
All right.
At 4-2, the Bears are at the 5-2 Commanders. Chicago favored by 3. The over/under 43.5.
See, that line indicates it's Mariota to me, but recent news indicates it's
may not
Daniels. I still going to take the Bears. I think Washington's defense is bound to hurt them soon.
Yeah,
I think
it's
Chicago's
just not good.
Trending the right way. Yeah.
Chicago's got more weapons.
They got more weapons and a much better defense.
Yeah, I don't know. The quarterback isn't better. Caleb Williams is not better than Jaden Daniels.
No,
but
he's not a liability anymore either.
No, he's
getting
not.
better.
But
yeah.
he has more weapons.
Yeah. Swift has been useful,
Yeah.
Their defense has been real good. They take the ball away, too. And if it's Mariota.
The Sunday night game, the 3-3 Cowboys are at the 3-4 49ers. San Francisco favored by 4, the over-under 45.5. Who had, at this point in the season, on their bingo card, both of these teams being at 500 or under?
I know. I mean, it's a pretty critical game.
Huge game.
To live up
for
to
both
expectations.
Of them. Yeah.
I'm pretty high on San Fran in this one. Tough place to play. They have no answer for Bosa. Those tackles are a problem. They don't run the ball. They don't stop the run. And Dak's been putting the ball in harm's way much more than he usually does.
It's all on him.
I know. It's all on him. Exactly. And they need more than Lamb. And I look at this thing and thinking, if I'm Shanahan, I got to get back to run the ball. Take something off Brock's plate. Let's just run the ball over and over.
Well, that's
and
the thing, though. He hasn't played well. I mean, he's playing. He's playing
pretty poorly last.
He's playing.
week.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna take the Niners.
I will too because they're at home. If the game were in Dallas, I might take Dallas. Well, Dallas hasn't won at home this year.
Haven't they?
No, so there's that.
Yeah. I trust. The
I don't
Niners
love
to
it
get
one
right
way or
more.
the other. I don't even know if I want to watch that game.
Oh,
I will. But I don't want to.
Is that the national game?
That's the Sunday night game.
Oh, that's the night game. Okay.
Yeah. So,
which leads us to the Monday nighter.
Leads us into the Monday nighter, and we will talk about that when we come back. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lally. That's the look ahead at this week's schedule. We'll be back with more to finish up the show, give you our picks on the Steeler game right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lally. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And we just gave you our preview of all the games coming into this week, Week 8 in the NFL. And that brings us to the big one that we've been talking about all week long. It's the 2-5 Giants at the 5-2 Steelers Monday night, Acrisure Stadium, 8:15 p.m. kickoff. And Matt, the Steelers favored by 6. The over-under just 36.5 in this one. What do you got?
23-10 Steelers. In a game that I think that they just control and run a lot and eat a lot of clock and don't have to get real aggressive with the football, and that touchdown that I'm projecting for the Giants might be a late, meaningless type score. I expect them to win on special teams. I do think they'll have problems with Lawrence and company up front. I mean, that's going to be the big test, or the biggest thing I'm concerned about. I don't like where the Giants are as a team right now, especially their offensive line in this building, Monday night, all that stuff. I think the Steelers control the game, and people might be at the end of the game, why didn't they score more against this terrible Giants team? Because it was always in control.
Yeah.
That's just kind of my feeling.
Yeah. I'm with you. This is a Giants team that has scored 9 offensive touchdowns in 7 games this year, and the kickers aren't especially good
Yeah, they're
either.
not great either, right?
If you look at it, Greg Joseph, who's kicking for them now, 2 of 5 on kicks between 40 and 49 yards this year.
That's like a gimme nowadays, too.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's considered automatic, and it's not been. So they don't kick field goals particularly well.
Right.
They're bad on special teams in general.
In general, across the board,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, even worse than that Jets team was last week, which is surprising. I didn't think anybody'd be worse than them, and, well, this team is. Yeah, and I think, it may not be a pretty game, and I think there will be some 3-and-outs and things of that nature because the Giants' defense, despite the numbers, is actually good.
Yeah, it's not horrific.
I just think it gets exposed or overexposed because the offense is so bad.
Special teams puts them in bad spots, and it's still a work in progress defensively, but they got some guys.
Yeah. I don't think the Giants will be super effective running the football.
I don't either.
That's going to put too much on Daniel Jones' plate, and he is going to make mistakes. I don't think that the Giants are going to have any answer for Watt and Highsmith on the edge.
I don't know what we do with that. Yeah.
You can't double team them both.
Yeah.
And if you do, Cam Hayward's going to kill you coming up the middle.
Not that it matters. It's going to be a problem, but do we know who the left tackle is going to be?
I assume it's going to be Azudu or whatever his name
I would
is.
assume so, too, but they added DJ Humphries. I don't think we brought that
Yeah,
up.
but they signed him off the couch. Is he
I know.
going to run him out there and play him 60 snaps against Alex Highsmith? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
And he's not great to begin with.
Right. He's on the couch for a reason. You know?
Yeah, starting left tackles are not sitting on their couch at home right now going, do I want to play or not?
Yeah, that's the answer to the problem. Right?
Yeah.
No, I 100% agree. I think those guys feast. I think Cam Hayward causes a lot of problems. Benton as a pass rusher was really dominant too. Like I think there's gonna be a lot of sacks in this game. Wilson might get sacked 3 or 4 times too. I mean, I think that's could be in the cards.
No, I definitely think it is. But the Steelers have just 2 sacks in their last 2 games. I think they at least double that one. That total in this one, I think they get at least 4.
I agree.
And they get after it in this one. I get the Steelers winning 24-10. So
okay, similar. I had 23-10.
You had 23-10. When you said that, I'm like, oh, phew. You didn't have the same score. I mean, the Giants had 119 total yards in their loss to the Eagles last week.
It's hard to do.
That's their fewest in a game since 1999.
Because they went backwards so often too, when they tried to pass.
They might have less in this one.
Oh, I think
the Steelers' defense is much better than.
Oh, it is. It is. That's such a
119 is a really low number.
Right,
but do they get over 150?
Yeah. Thinking and dunking to Wandell and Neighbors.
I don't know if that's going to get it done though. This defense is really. I know they had some issues tackling last week.
Yeah.
But that was tackling Breece Hall. And it didn't happen. It happened in the first half. It didn't happen in the second half.
Right.
They corrected it.
Big time, right.
And
I think the second half will
belong when Terrell Austin was talking this week, he was kind of ticked off about that. He said, we gave up some plays in the first half we shouldn't have given up.
Oh, he's right.
Because we're way too fast and of a defense to give up some things like that. We were in position. We just didn't make the plays.
Mm-hmm. He's 100% correct.
I just don't know. I mean, last week.
Will it happen again?
Yeah, I don't see it happening again. And none of these guys are Breece Hall.
No, they're ball carriers or pedestrian.
And the Giants last week had trouble getting the ball to Neighbors because he's a downfield threat. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe they try we got to find ways to get him involved. Let's throw him the ball at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, we know where the passes are going.
Yeah.
And those two are decent players. Again, I don't think there's going to be much resistance.
I just don't. Put it this way, I don't see the Giants going over 200 total yards in this game.
I mean, that's a more reasonable number.
I think the Steelers' defense controls this one from the get-go.
Especially when you factor in sacks. I mean, they could go 40 yards backwards in sacks.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I just think they just completely – I mean, Daniel Jones is a runner. Everybody talks about it. His long run this year is 13 yards.
He's a good, not great runner.
Yeah.
I mean,
he does it because he's –
It's in his club in his bag.
It's a club in his bag, but it's not his best club.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what his best club is.
He does it because he doesn't have a great club. Good clubs. I mean, he's a good runner. He's not special.
Yeah. I think the Steelers just dominate this. I don't think that they necessarily go bombs away with Russell Wilson again in this
I don't
one.
either. I don't know.
Unless you max protect on it and just say, hey, I'm going to throw this up for George Pickens and see what happens here. But
I don't think there'll be a lot of between the numbers throwing or putting the ball in dangerous situations because I don't think you'll really have to.
Yeah, I don't think you need to. This might be a field position type game, and you just kind of beat them down a little bit.
I know people get frustrated by this, but I think there'll be a point in the game where Tomlin realizes these guys really aren't going to score on
They're not going to score.
Right.
They can't move the football.
Figured out. All their tricks are out of the bag, and we got control of that side of the ball. Yeah. So we're going to hand it to Najee and Warren, and
really the only way I see the Steelers losing this one is turnovers. If they turn the football over.
Yeah, I am worried about fumbles in the pocket after a sack or something like that. A scoop and score or something along those lines, or Wilson takes a big shot. Yeah, that could happen. I mean.
It's the NFL.
It's the NFL, right.
Yeah. So I think that's what we're going to be talking about on Tuesday, just a methodical Steelers win. They don't lose on Monday Night Football.
Just a business trip. I mean, it's get in there and take care of things.
21 in a row.
Well, there's that, too.
21 in a row.
That's an insane number. It's the Maggio's hitting streak.
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen.
They haven't lost a home scheduled Monday night game. I know they lost to Washington a couple of years ago, but that wasn't a scheduled Monday night game. That was because of COVID.
Oh, was that the COVID year?
Yeah, the game got moved around and ended up being on Monday night. It was supposed to be, I think, a Thursday and a Sunday game. I can't remember now. But anyways, that game, because people always throw it up, well, they lost that game. But it wasn't a scheduled Monday night game. Mm-hmm. That was in craziness during COVID when you didn't even know when you were going to play.
Yeah. Played on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and stuff.
Thursdays, and just all over the place. But 21 consecutive scheduled home Monday night games. That goes back to 1991.
Even if it's 21-1, that's pretty good.
They're 30. Well, they're 30-5 all time. At home
right.
on Monday nights.
Yeah, that's going
30-5,
way back, right? And the Giants aren't.
The Giants are not. The
Daniel
Giants
Jones
have played more road Monday night games than any other franchise. They played 50 of them.
I guess that adds up.
Yeah, I think they've won 22 or something like that. They're like 22 and 28.
Was always on Monday night growing up.
Yeah, and they're just not a good. They're not a great football team.
No.
I think if the Steelers are the kind of football team that they aspire to be, this is a game they take care of.
Yeah, and I think it's not over at halftime, but I think they're starting to take control.
Yeah,
come out in the second half and put a long drive together and be like, it's about it,
Yeah. So we'll see if we're right. We'll see if we're wrong on Tuesday when we're back. Matt, that's going to do it for the week.
Yeah, good week.
Absolutely.
We got 4 next week.
4 next week, and then bye week will be on all 5 days.
Yeah. So we may have to come up with some things to talk about.
Things to look at
Thursday
for the first
and Friday.
half, and
yeah.
that kind of stuff. There's lots of stuff to talk. We always find things to talk about. That's just what we do. But for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site, running the board there for us and operating the Justin Miller hotline. We need a little sign back here that says that. And for Tyler Vittmeyer, making sure our video gets out on YouTube, which you should check out if you haven't done that thus far. I am Dale Lally. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.